So what do we have? First of all, everything up to his public ministry is to identify him, but now everything that he has done is to introduce him to the nation. Does everybody get the news? Well, it's out there, and now it's just going to start spreading, and that's what happens next. When he's rejected in Nazareth, he moves permanently to Capernaum, right on the Sea of Galilee. And what was the Messiah going to do? He was going to preach to whom? Who did it specifically mention in the Isaiah verse? To the poor. Because of the invasions that the land of Israel had experienced over the previous 700 years, Galilee always got hit first. And their area was so depressed economically because of that. They had been gutted numerous times over the course of the previous 700 years. While in Jerusalem you had a lot of the names of the priestly family lines, you had a lot of the money was in Jerusalem because of the temple. Up in Galilee, you had the kind of the nobodies in a sense, and those who had come from the families that just really were no-name families. Jesus now is going to spend the next year and a half with the people of Galilee. How kind is that? How compassionate. And what is he going to do? Well, he's going to have compassion, and what was the other thing he came to do? He's going to teach or preach. One of his earliest miracles is that there's this demon-possessed man in the synagogue right there in Capernaum, and this demon manifests himself. Jesus cast out the demon. Who is that miracle for? Well, obviously, it's for that man, right? That man has been tormented by an unclean spirit, and now it's gone, and he's free. But think for a minute. Who's watching this miracle take place? The synagogue leader. That synagogue leader had a demon-possessed man in his synagogue. What was he doing? Nothing for that man. So what is Jesus showing or teaching? Satan has rule here, and I have come to take Satan's territory. Satan doesn't belong here in the synagogue. Get out. You see how he's using miracle with the teaching. Then he has a leper. Of course, lepers were considered unclean by the Levitical laws. And outside of the town, Jesus is traveling outside of the little city areas. Lord, have mercy. Just if you want to make me clean, you can make me clean. So what does this man realize about his condition? I'm unclean. And Jesus says, I am willing. And he touches him and he says, you're clean. Now, who is the miracle for? Jesus says to him, go show yourselves to the priest, which is quite a journey back all the way down to Jerusalem, as a witness to them. Who is the miracle for? We have Jesus now. He's having compassion on the sheep, but he's also showing the false shepherds up. All these miracles are at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry in Galilee, and these four friends bring their paralyzed friends, and the need of the man, what's obvious? They come into this crowded room, and Jesus comes to the man and says very clearly, your sins are forgiven. Did they come to have his sins forgiven? That was not why they came. And then Jesus looks at the false shepherds. I mean, they're very angry because Jesus is now assuming authority. In their minds, he's assuming authority that only God has. The authority to forgive sins. Jesus says, well, which is easier to say? Get up and walk, or your sins are forgiven? Now think with me here. Which is easier to say? Your sins are forgiven, because you don't know if I did that or not. And that's why Jesus waits to do the miracle, because when he says, get up and walk, and the man, now wait a minute. If Jesus can do that I can see what had just happened to the man inside, what they couldn't see. His sins had just been forgiven. And the leaders are angry because, this is what they say, only God can forgive and heal. Jesus had said, I forgive and heal. Therefore, do you understand that Jesus is now teaching who he is teaching who they are, and he is teaching what he came to do. What did he come to do? I came to forgive. I came to bring you back to God. I used to think that, it was kind of a miracle here. The Gospels are just filled with miracles. The miracles are very specific and very intentional. And they are for the purpose of compassion, yes, but also for teaching, because that's what he came to do. In the next section, Jesus continues to do miracles, but he is showing compassion and exposing the heart of the false shepherds.